Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this show without the express written consent of the Financial Guys, LLC is strictly prohibited.
Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
Welcome to TFG Truth. I'm Mike Hayflick, my partner Mike Sparazza. Each and every week, our goal is to report facts, expose hypocrisy, and espouse common sense. Today we'll do a little bit of that. Shortly, though, we will be joined by WGRZ, that'd be Channel 2 in Western New York. Investigative reporter Dave McKinley will be joining us. Dave's been in the business a long, long time. He takes on the hard stories, folks. He's the one who goes digging into all the facts, the evidence, and calls people out for the wrongdoings. So we're really excited to have Dave McKinley coming up. But first,
let's talk America.
Maybe we should do the Pledge of Allegiance first. Although then we might literally be taken off the air forever.
That's right.
We were trying to figure out, what are we even going to kind of call this, right? There's so many absurdities, all sorts of hypocrisy, all sorts of stuff. And you'd always say, like, when does it end? We used to say, yeah, certain things, basically we agree they're absurd. Or we can agree they're wrong. We can't do that anymore, folks. So what are we raising? American idiots,
all
right?
over the place.
They're all over the place. You can't stop it. It's like weeds. The idiots are the weeds. You cannot get rid of them. As soon as you think you've squashed them, they're back, right? They're ruining what we used to think of as a pretty good America. And an ever-changing America and an ever-improving America, right? I mean, literally, you go back a couple centuries, you could say, this is not the nicest of places to be, but the constant improvement is what our founding fathers knew would happen. And
we'll get to a few instances of this, but it's I'm just getting to the point where if you don't like it here, or it's not the world you want to live in here in America, then get the hell out.
I know.
Take your business and move somewhere else, right?
Why would you be so angry and I don't know, disgusted by America and stay?
And here's the big difference, and we'll, again, talk about a little of this. It's not constructive criticism, right? Here's why I think this is a bad strategy. It's, I'm just going to burn the flag, or I'm going to burn a building, or I'm going to shoot somebody. It's not constructive where, how can we make this state, this country, whatever, a better place? It's, how can I destroy it to the best of my ability every day?
It's the Portland approach.
Right.
Just keep burning it down.
Right.
Burn it until it's gone, right? Portland will be gone someday, and we'll say, remember Portland? Yeah, remember every time we did our podcast, we said, Portland's still burning.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. That's what they want to do. Some of these people want to do that to America, and it's absolutely enraging. I think it's really, though, it's bringing out, and I'm going to mention this later again, but this whole idea of the sleeping giant of conservatism.
Yep.
The quiet parents who just always tried to do the right thing, had their kids in school, made sure they did their homework, doing all the right things, right? Raising their family, working, making a living, trying to build up a nest egg so they can retire. Those people have had it. All you have to do is go on YouTube or go on social media anywhere, go and look for news of school board, recent school board.
Yep.
And man, you're going to see some really enraged people.
Yeah, and again, I think, because the reason I mentioned what I said before is, people on the left are probably like, well, all you guys do is bitch and moan about things. But it's not bitching and moaning to say, I hate my country. It's, I want to go back to when it was a great country, when we could, have a conversation, have a debate, talk to people, and not feel, and I really do feel like this, every conversation you have with people that maybe don't agree with you, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. Am I going to upset somebody?
I agree.
Is somebody going to get insulted by me saying that I believe in, our country, and I believe in police, and
Absolutely. I believe that, I believe there's a God. I believe we should say the Pledge of Allegiance before big events.
Yep.
Why? Because it's because of the freedoms we have, that we have the big events, that we don't feel like we've been oppressed. Some people, like this whole idea of reparations for everything, it's just turning around. It's like going back to the 1850s, but it's other people. It's the whites. It's the white men especially. It's the pretty white models, like the Victoria's Secret models, that are making a living promoting a product. Capitalism, folks. No, that's absurd. Let's get some activists in some of these negligee and swimsuits. Okay, you know what? This it's getting outrageous.
I mean, soon, like going to a school is going to be racist, right? Soon, like going to work. Oh man, you can't have it. Can't go to work. That's bad for you.
They want American, in quotes, to be identified by holding up a sign and walking street corners and protesting. Then, when it gets dark, that's when the real fun starts.
Then you go steal PS4s and TVs.
Get out your sledgehammers. Get out your bricks. Basically turn your cities into complete devastated ghettos, and then you take over the ghetto.
And here's the thing, too, again, to speak of what we talk about, things that you thought would make sense, and I think it was San Francisco where this was at a Rite Aid or a Walgreens, wherever it was. There was a video, and it's not like a story, it's a video, you see it. There's a guy that goes in on a bike, grabs a bunch of stuff off the shelves, puts it in a garbage bag, drives right out. Cops aren't called. Why? Because if it's under $1,000, you can't even charge him with a crime. And that stuff, I don't care what you believe in. It's insanity.
It's their version of, well, you can lie, but if it's a little white lie,
right? The
little white lie, just let it go.
I'm going to go into a pizzeria and just steal a whole pie. I needed it. I got to have it. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for it.
Right.
Pizza sounded good. So let me just walk in, grab your oven, and just grab the pizza out of there. Maybe I'll grab a cookie, too.
Yeah.
And dessert, right? You need dessert.
And if I forget, just try and give me a little bottle of soda because, I need to wash it down. That was one of the justifications. Someone said, well, they're stealing medications out of the pharmacy, but, they must need them. Okay, great.
Yeah, I need a lot of things. I can't just go rip them off the shelves, right? Like
it's insane.
I need $1 million to do marketing. Where am I going to get that? Can anybody hand that over to me, right? Like I need whatever, right?
Well, let's go through a handful of what we are calling the new America, and let's see who's leading the contest as the biggest American idiot, all right? And there's lots to choose from. In fact, we were joking about this, but I think we're going to do this next year, have kind of a contest throughout the entire year.
March Madness.
It's going to be the whole year, though, of madness, because we have madness every day. And even when we think, oh, man, we didn't really prep, what are we going to talk about? It takes about 5 minutes to come up with a little bit of material, right? So let's start with Chicago. Where do we begin? How about don't live there? All right. Now, what was the guy? He was the comedian. I'm going to remember his name. I think he's passed away. But it was basically a funny sort of comedy routine. He'd say, if you're living in the desert and you're starving, it's arid, there's no water, there's no food, he'd yell, he'd go, get out of the desert! Right. Live where there's food! Sam Kinison, that's who it was. You got to look up this clip. It's really funny.
Yep.
Now, hunger, obviously we're not promoting hunger, folks. People that need food, obviously I care about those people. But the idea here is, Chicago, is it ever going to change? Is it ever going to be less violent, especially with Lori Lightweight in charge? I mean, Lori Lightweight, she is a lightweight by any stretch. She basically...
She's an idiot.
She is a complete idiot. And you know what? It's really easy because if I was mayor of the city of Chicago and all I had to do is say, oh no, crime is up, it's racist. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I see the murder rates are up too. Oh, it's racist. We have a work shortage. People are home collecting their federal benefits. We need to get them back to the workforce. It's racist.
But here's my thing.
Everything's racist.
It is. And here's my thing, though. So what are you going to do to fix said racism that's all over Chicago or New York City or whatever? Because just calling racism out for everything is not an answer. It actually makes it worse, right? Oh. And that's proven. Since they've played this stunt of racism and we need to fix Chicago, defund the police, it's gotten worse.
Yep.
Last weekend I saw numbers: 8 murdered by gunfire, and I think it was 34 or 43 shot.
Yep.
That, by the way, if you want to go look that up, is not going to be legal gun owners shooting people everywhere. And I'm going to give you an example that we talked about. A Hispanic couple was shot dead in the street at a parade. Shot dead from a foot away. Not like got sniped or not, just missed shot and it hit that. Shot point blank 2 feet away, killed them both. They both died.
Was that because of racism?
Don't know.
Maybe it's because they are gangs. They're thugs. They know criminal behavior won't be basically punished. It'll be tolerated.
Exactly right.
Drugs, right? They're drug dealers. They're desperate. They're just going to be whatever they want to be because nobody's holding them to anything better.
But what you're missing is she just declared a public health crisis because of her health emergency, because of racism. You're missing that part. So if you have that part, you got to understand that, with racism, people are just going to shoot everybody, right? People are not going to be feel inclusive into things, and that's what she blames, right? These people all that they're fighting because it's a racist society. That's their only way out. It's not.
And on top of that, no bail required for so many crimes now. They let people walk out right after being arrested for some pretty bad stuff, guys. I mean, this is not like, I
stole a pack of gum.
Yeah, I stole a bag. Even that, like, you parked in the wrong spot. You know what? We got to give you a summons. No, it's like armed robbery.
Right.
They're getting released. Then they're going and committing murders, right? But all that said, the cops are now reluctant to address these things. In fact, some cops are going to be told, listen, minor traffic violations, you know what?
Let it go.
Let it go. You're not going to be called. You know what? If it's a mental health issue, if there's calls in the middle of the night and it sounds like someone has a mental health issue, we're not deploying you, you cops. We're defunding you. So there won't be enough of you to go to those. We're going to send social workers. We're going to send drug rehab counselors to these, houses, apartments with maybe raging lunatics brandishing weapons. That's exactly, and we're going to talk about this, but the city of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Right? A new Democratic primary, Byron Brown got beaten. Yeah. Beaten by a woman who is an open socialist who says
proud to be one.
Proud to be. Yep. Defund the police. We're gonna deploy the police in a much different way. Reinvent, right?
And here's my thing too. Listen, if I was a police officer who is trained with a firearm, I wouldn't want to go into the city of Chicago. Why the hell would a social worker who's going in with her fists or his fists only, right? Why would you go in there?
Just chalk it up to one more profession that people will avoid.
Yeah.
If they are told, you know what? Hey, here's your normal hours, 9 to 5. Oh, but in the middle of the night, if we call you at 2 a.m. because there's an incident, you might have to go there and sort of settle it down.
Yeah.
Talk the person down.
Yeah.
Right? While they're just high on crack, knives, guns, everything. They're ready to kill people. But guess what? The drug rehab counselor, you're going to be able to go in there and settle this thing down. Because we're not sending police.
And Loma says it all the time. You could go to the east side of Buffalo and pick up a building for about $28, right? And if Mike Lomas came to us and said, hey, guys, I think we're going to relocate to the east side of Buffalo, I'd say, hey, I'm going to relocate to my Grand Island office because I am not going into the east side of Buffalo to have our office down there to get shot at or get robbed or whatever, right?
Yep.
When you breed this type of activity in a society, and I don't mean, racial, I'm saying anywhere, no matter where you are, if they did this to any town across the United States, it's going to all end up the same way, right? Yes. If you defund police, if you make it a big deal or not a big deal to be in a drug gang or whatever, of course that's going to happen. Doesn't matter where you are, inner city, suburbs, whatever.
It's going to be a pile of ashes and a lot of dead people.
Yep.
Dead people from the gang violence, the robberies, the drugs, you name it, or suicides. I mean, it's just the Democratic formula for running a city is exactly the opposite, I think, of what should be done.
And it's proven.
Right? Promoting working, not handouts. Promoting police to keep your neighborhood safe. It's completely opposite, right? Stay home, we'll keep giving you more. You're limiting their true potential. That's what really bothers me. When you just think that giving, right, being Santa Claus month after month, year after year, and doing it generationally, you're limiting every single one of those generations of people to succeed.
Yep.
I mean, how cool is it if we close some business? It's like fun. It's you get charged up.
Yep.
I helped people. They want to partner with us. They're going to come on board. Many people, generations of people don't get that because the government thinks they can solve everything and they screw it up every single time.
Yep.
Okay? So Chicago, anyone Chicagoans, move. Get out of there. It's not getting any better. So Lori Lightweight, someone's got to get in and defeat her.
Yep.
Turn that thing around, because it's not going to work all by itself.
Yep.
She's true, like Kamala-like.
Yep.
This Lori Lightweight. So let's move on to this. Transgender athlete wants to win the BMX events, right? That's bike riding, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
I kind of knew that. He actually had to fill me in on that. I'm like, BMX, what is that? But anyway, wants to win so that they can get on the podium as the winner and burn the American flag.
I just said this to Sue in
Get
our
out,
office.
right?
I just said this to Sue in our office. Imagine if I said, I want to get hired at Walmart so I can burn the store down.
Or loot, now I can get back into the warehouse and I can bring my pickup truck and start loading everything in and rob it.
I mean, these people are nuts. I mean, the fact that is even a comment that would be made by an American to
Unbelievable.
And again, you have the right to be transgender and compete in an athletic event for our country. Right. It can't be that bad.
Oh my God. Get out. Just leave.
Yeah.
Go to another country. There's a lot of countries. Over 120 countries.
Right.
Find a country where you feel it's better.
Right.
And I'll bet you will not find another one.
You can't say stuff like that in China or North Korea. You'll get hung.
You're gone. You're dead.
Yeah.
They will kill you, and they will openly say, we kill you if you're transgender, bisexual, homosexual, whatever. I mean,
if you were a transgender athlete right now, you would think it would be, I want to win something to prove that I can do it, and then I'll have my conversations about what I think we can do to improve. Instead, it's let's just bash our country as much as we can.
Yep. There's a man who changed to woman gender, right? I'm not sure, what do they call that? Transitioned, I guess.
Yep.
The transgender female will now be in the Olympics and a power lifter, and made it into the Olympics. I think it's absurd. Biological men are by far, especially the bigger biological men. Like I don't have the genes to become that huge and that strong. But if you are biologically a male, can't we just, because of science, say you will probably grow to a bigger, more muscular, stronger human being than a biological female? How is that even possible that they think that that's okay?
Yeah.
And I think, again, sleeping giant, I think a lot of people, I mean, think about this. Any females out there, let's say mom and dad were very athletic, maybe college, even pro athletes. Children start to grow up and they work their tails off. They do everything. Let's say it's a female. She gets to the point where now she can maybe compete college level. And then maybe, just maybe, there's professional sports thereafter. She's on her way. And suddenly, instead of winning, she's now 6th or 7th place. Mm-hmm. Nobody's looking at her because you were in 6th, 7th place. You're not good enough. Why? Because men that change to women beat you, and they are biologically just way, way stronger, way faster, way more apt to do the sport you take part in. What are you supposed to make of that? You just take it on the chin? And if you're a parent, are you supposed to just go, honey, hey, times change, I guess you picked the wrong sport.
Yeah.
It's just sad to me. It's disgusting. I
agree. I mean, again, to the real conversation about it really hasn't happened. They've just kind of thrown it into we're just going to I agree, especially a sport like weightlifting, right? I mean, it's science, right? Biologically, most men are stronger or bigger than most women.
The potential, right?
Yes.
The potential, really, if you're listening and you're female, some of you are way stronger than me.
Right.
But just biologically, men will have the potential in now most cases to be way stronger.
Yep.
And just because of the makeup of our bodies, that's just the way it is physiologically. Yep. So this has nothing to do with either that you wanted to become a transgender. You can. I don't care if you get tattoos. I don't prefer tattoos, but if you want tattoos, go ahead.
Yep.
You want piercings. You want to date people of the same sex, of every sex. If you just want to date anything that moves, I really don't care.
Right.
You want to date the cow out in the field. Date the cow out in the field. I really don't care. Am I going to go, that's kind of strange. Not for me. Go ahead. But this type of thing, now you're taking away opportunity from others. So you're forcing your own style, your lifestyle on others. Yep. Now they're becoming victims.
Yep.
How is that fair? Again, the new America, folks. The new America.
Speaking of the new America, let's pull up our friend and frequent visitor to the show, Joy Behar.
Oh, my heart just fluttered a little whenever I hear Joy.
Her up here.
Let's hear this.
Las Vegas.
Okay.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
You know, Anna, after they said penetration in the end zone, they lost me. So, Sonny, is this a sign that this...
Good football joke.
So that was Joy Behar on the discussion of the first active gay player in the NFL.
Yep.
So it's okay for them to joke about stuff and make comments that are inappropriate. But I'm telling you right now, I've said this before, if Donald Trump Jr. made that same comment, there would be the biggest storm of,
oh my God,
he's anti-gay, he's this, he's that. I mean, that comment, I don't even know why that comment is made, right? To be honest, he's an NFL player. He's gay, straight, doesn't matter. Good for him. He's in the NFL. He's made it to the NFL, and this should not be even a story, right? He's in the NFL. We're gay, straight, whoever you are, great. Good for you. And let's move on. Let's talk about his production on the field, right?
Right.
This is now we have to joke about him being gay,
right.
with a
sexual
joke
and innuendos, right? I mean,
I don't understand these people.
Aren't we beyond where I'd say the majority of people in the United States, like majority, really don't care if you're gay or not?
No. They don't.
LGBTQ community. No, I mean, yeah, there are fringes of people, and I will call a lot of the fringe people fanatics. They're the ones that will never accept how you live. We know a lot of them on the left. They won't accept the way things go. There's some on the right, far right. But most of Americans are going to say, you know what? Don't push it on me. Maybe I don't want to see you in public doing anything, just like I don't want to see a straight couple groping each other. And I don't want to see it. But, I really don't care. Just leave me alone. Let me walk in line to the roller coaster. I'll go on the roller coaster and, we all have some fun.
That's exactly the point I always make to people. Like, I don't care what you are. Do not suck face with your spouse or girlfriend in front of me or boyfriend or whoever. Like, I don't want to see it, right? Do that at your house. Do that somewhere else where nobody is.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And I think it's almost, again, with a lot of this stuff, like the racism thing that we keep talking about, they want to just drive it down our throats as much as they can to make us, like, almost believe that there's a bigger issue than there is. Like you said, I know hundreds of people. We have thousands of clients. I don't know many that have an issue with gay rights. I don't know that many that have an issue with people of different races. Do you know any? I don't know that I know any.
Honestly, it just never even crosses my mind.
No.
Some of this stuff. And by the way, the true American idiots out there are those that think that Joy Behar has even literally a single ounce, even a little tiny gram of talent.
Yep.
I mean, anyone on earth who thinks that Joy, maybe just her mom and dad, maybe.
Yep.
But
and those idiots she's on the show with too.
Brutal. They're just brutal. I don't know how they even think of that as entertainment. And obviously the ratings just drop every year.
And speaking of an actual racist, if we want to talk race for a second, this is an actual racist, your current president.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear this.
This country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
We might have to work with more Hispanics?
Now, that's on a Zoom call with 9 African American and I believe Hispanic people as well. Like, so you call Donald Trump a racist. You call this guy or that guy a racist.
Right.
Us white males racist. And that's the comment you're making, the unifier?
Unreal.
Like, come on. I don't even know, and I've watched that video 50 times because I just laugh at him. But, I mean, where was he even going with that?
That's the problem. So it's either like, it's definitely cognitive issues, or that's really the message he's sending. Like, hey, I'm warning you.
Yeah.
The white Europeans are going to be a minority. Then you'll be in trouble, right? Insinuating you're going to be in trouble then. And guess what? You're going to have to work with a lot of Hispanics. Oh, my God.
And essentially he just said that we're doomed because you're African American.
Right. Why doesn't anyone on that call him out?
You could tell how uncomfortable some of the guys were.
Oh, my God.
And we'll play that on the YouTube, and Kelsey's going to put it in. But, I mean, I don't... Like, we're doomed because you're African American and you and Hispanics are going to be the ones that are the majority. I mean, what is that?
I don't even...
How do you even get away with saying that?
I have no idea.
And most
I have no idea. They do
that. Most people probably won't see that video.
They get away with it, Mike, because it's the new America, right? I'm telling you, and this will be a last point, and we'll be wrapping up this segment, but sleeping giants of conservatism, folks, are coming. A lot of them are very well-spoken. Candace Owens, lots of people in the media. Leo Terrell. I mean, there are a lot of black conservatives speaking up. Why? Because that's really who the other side is saying has been so oppressed, has continued to be oppressed. Racism, whites, everything against whites and everything that whites, like the privilege and all that. There is a waking, sleeping giant. And I don't know.
I love all of our white politicians telling blacks how they should feel to be an African American. That's right. The best part. Yeah. You guys, we know how it feels. Nope, you don't. Joe Biden, you really don't know how it feels. You've never had to worry about anything.
How condescending, by the way, is that? Like a white guy. If you and I say, if we even say to other white people, you got to really put yourself in the shoes of the black man and the black woman, and you got to put yourself into their shoes so you can really understand how bad they've been treated and how oppressed they are. Like, who the hell am I to say that?
Yeah, and how do we even know?
Honest to God, if I'm not living that life, I'm the last person who should comment on it and then try and teach others to change their behavior. A joke. It's a big joke. The new America, folks, we've got to stop this basically shift to thinking that everyone's oppressed, everyone is a victim. Yep. We've got to keep stepping up, folks. Just like you do in your school boards, the city councils, all of your races, even at the lowest of levels in your areas. Step up. You've got to take on these leadership positions. Stop the critical race theory. Yep. Stop the idea that we shouldn't go back to school, that masks must be worn, that we should keep businesses closed. You've got to step up, folks. Save America, right? That's essentially what we're saying.
That's right.
Folks, when we get back after a real quick break, we'll be talking with Dave McKinley, investigative reporter with WGRZ. We'll be right back. Welcome back to TFG Truth, folks. We are now joined by WGRZ investigative journalist Dave McKinley. Thanks for being here today, Dave.
Well, I'm honored to be here, fellas. Thanks for asking.
We really appreciate this. Now, you're obviously in the news business. Have you always been kind of a news junkie, always looking for anything you can find on what's going on, current events and so forth?
I think so. I think it all goes back to when I was a child, and I think that the teacher wrote my report card or something. It seems David's favorite time of day was show and tell. Where you share the news of your whatever is going on, and I think I read that in an old report card actually a few years ago when my mom handed all that stuff she had saved. I was one of 10 children growing up, so she had a lot of stuff saved. Plus, my parents were products of the Depression, so they saved a lot of stuff. You ever notice that?
Oh, yes. That's a lot of family stories to share. There may have been a few embarrassing moments for your mom and dad. Once teacher said, geez, David shares a lot about what goes on in that McKinley household,
Right.
You were always the culprit of that embarrassment, right? But yeah, so describe your start into journalism then. Was this your first choice heading into, into college and into, professional life, I guess?
Yeah, I always refer to myself as a broadcaster first. And that's how I started. And actually, it all started at a little radio station, fellows. Actually, it started for me in high school. I was 14 years old when I was first on the radio. And I wanted to be, a DJ. And then I went to college eventually, and I wanted to be a sportscaster. And then I realized over time that the news was pretty important, and that sportscasting jobs in those days, we're talking about, prior to ESPN, they were kind of few and far between. There weren't that many of them. If you look at your typical newsroom, even to today, how many people are in the sports department as to how many people are in the news department, and therefore, what are the odds of you getting a job? And I kind of fell into news, and really never aspired to be on television. I always wanted to be on the radio. And that's what I was for a good part of my career. I didn't get into television until I was 35, which is ancient, because, most people come out of college trying to get in TV. And that was the same back then, although I didn't have any desire for TV, and really spent the first, if you count those high school years, as part of my career, I spent the first 21 of them strictly on the radio as what I considered a broadcaster. But here I am all these years later, too lazy to work, too timid to steal. So this is what I do.
If you had to compare what it was like then compared to now, I mean, it seems like there's a difference, and we're not in that business, so I guess I'm speculating. But what was the difference from the beginning to now as journalism is today? And what's better and worse, I guess?
We used turntables back then on the radio. What is better now? We'll just cut to the chase, because I think that, it's what you may be interested in the state of it today. I think one of the challenges now is that we've become so polarized and so divided. There are many out there, an increasing number, who aren't interested in hearing the truth. They're interested in hearing their truth. And if what you're reporting is the entire truth, but it doesn't jibe with someone's politics, then you are a fake news, or you are a member of the liberal left-wing media, or, people, again, I kind of do stories the way that I always have. Present both sides, be truthful, be fair. And it's increasingly difficult these days because, again, people only want to hear their truth. And if it's not their truth, then there's something wrong with your story.
Have you found it, I have to assume you found it somewhat frustrating. Do you ever feel like you get a little defensive and you feel like you have to justify your own story a little more than you ever had to?
If you wish to engage with some of the people in the way they may attack you because you're not presenting their truth, you're presenting the truth, but not theirs necessarily. Years ago, it used to be that, look, everybody makes a mistake. And I realized very long ago that nobody bats 1,000 on a story, right? I mean, it's the best baseball player in the world hits it 3 out of 10 times, right? But when I first started out, if you said something that was either disagreeable to someone, or they didn't understand, or it got no further than them nudging their spouse on the couch and saying, "Look at this clown." And then came, and back in those times, if they really were upset with something you said, or if you made some sort of an error, they might write you a letter. And that takes a little time to get out a piece of paper and a pen and buy a stamp. Remember what those were? I still buy them and write checks. Buy a stamp, send it along in the mail. I take, and then it took so much time that you decided, well, do I really want to bother saying what I'm saying? Or they had to pick up the phone and call you. And I always welcomed phone calls because, it gave me a chance to talk to someone and explain some things and talk to them on a human level. But again, that took some effort to pick up the phone and remember, if I answered it, you had to talk to me. Well, now we have this thing. Well, now we have this thing called social media, where in that moment of someone watching something on TV that they find disagreeable to them, that they didn't hear correctly anyway, and they've just made this, they're ready to pull out their phone, go on their Twitter under the shield of anonymity, tweet something totally unfair and inaccurate under a presumed name and a fake picture. And in that moment, without thinking, boom, out it goes. And they're peak of rage or anger, they're ready to just pull your pants down to 20 of their like-minded followers who maybe gets 20 more, and they start, you start a fire. And there's no human interaction there. There's no calling me up and asking me, what did you mean by that? Or why didn't you say this? So I kind of miss that, and that's discouraging. And as it first started, it was troubling, stressful, difficult. But now it's like, I know what I'm doing is my due diligence and the right way to present it. And I can't be too concerned with, a couple of people that sit there in with a fake name and a fake picture who, for all I know, they know me. But
right.
But
you never know.
I don't think you can get too caught up in that, and what. Although it is, what's referred to as the mob can be quite disturbing.
Do you think it's more the social media end of it, or the current political state over the last, let's call it 4 to 5 years, that have really changed journalism more, I guess? And I know social media is still, I guess, newer to most people, but do you think the social media end or the political end has changed journalism, or is it just both at the same time?
I think it's both at the same time, and it's a combination. I don't quite understand what you mean about the political end of it.
I guess when you bring in, a highly controversial person like a Donald Trump, for instance, did that change journalism quite a bit because of who he was and his run for president? Did that really start that change, or no?
It didn't change anything for me personally. I don't think that I can't speak for others, but I think you saw things in journalism that you never saw before. Right. There was a time when, let's say, a major newspaper or network didn't think that a certain politician was being truthful. And they would have a way to maybe infer that in a nuanced sense that kind of got the message across. But it wasn't, like we've seen in the last, let's say 4 years ago, up until 4 years ago, where you just have like a major publication saying liar, saying things like that. And so that kind of changed it, obviously, for some news agencies. And again, I'm not a part of those. I'm just a guy in Buffalo, New York, working on a television station that's local, that I don't think has changed its standards as some of the bigger outlets have.
Yeah, we are talking right now, folks, to WGRZ investigative reporter Dave McKinley. Dave, you brought up a whole bunch of points. One I just think resonates with me is the idea that people can instantly react to you and any story they have that they've read. And I know as a dad, growing up, my daughters both played various sports, volleyball, softball, and some of the good coaches would say, listen, I'm not always going to do something that maybe you're agreeing with, but there might be reasons for what I'm doing. So let's do this 24-hour rule, right? So instead of attacking me after the game, questioning everything I did during a game, give it 24 hours. Let's just think about the situations, talk to your kid, your daughter, whatever. And I think most of the time I was able to do that. Sometimes I'd have to spout out with my own kids on the way home, and then I'd figure it out, right? Like, why did things go the way they went? But if people, I think, would do that with news and actually, put a little time and effort into reading more about maybe facts of a story, they probably wouldn't react the way they do online. But it's so easy. Literally, just get my thumbs going here, get my fingers going, and it's so easy to get something out there.
And they read the 100-letter caption, and that's all they read. They don't actually open the article.
Right. How many letters are allowed in a tweet? I mean, literally, they might read a tweet of...
When some people respond, you obviously know they haven't read the article.
Right.
They're just reacting to a headline. And the other frustrating part is that, and I noticed this years ago when social media first became a thing and news outlets started, having an online presence and a web page and putting their stories out there. And if they read the article, and it's obvious when they don't, but if they read it, you're lucky. But what I also found kind of frustrating was that, the first person might comment on it and saying, well, I agree with this, this, and this, and I think about this. And then the next person would come on and say, well, I think differently, this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. And then a third person C, would say to person A, yeah, person B's right, and you're an idiot. And then and then A would respond to C, well, your mother wears army boots, as they used to say. And it just, then you've got, it's like, wow, look at all the comments on this story. And then you realize, well, there's 500 comments on the story, but maybe there's like the first 4 or 5 have anything to do with the story. And now it's just people calling each other names.
Exactly.
And so that's a frustrating part. But when you mentioned what you just did, I guess that's what I was getting to before. There was a time when you had that 24-hour rule because you wrote me a letter or you picked up the telephone, and you had to make a little bit of an effort to get in touch with me. And if you did, there was some sort of human interaction as opposed to just now where it's it's just nuts.
Like you release the pressure valve a bit, you had to write the letter. You had to think about, hey, should I call Dave McKinley? I mean, he's on television, he's on radio. Do I really want to do this? And if I'm going to, I want to put my thoughts together. So yeah, I think that was really a benefit of years ago versus, finding out things like within seconds of the event. I mean, it really, not only can it bring a ton of anxiety with people like me, just a consumer of the news, but it also brings such doubt and skepticism. You read something and instead of taking it seriously, if you see who's reporting it, sometimes you just say, don't listen to that one. She's a nitwit or he's an idiot or whatever. And that's not good. Like, I think sometimes it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? There's a lot of, they're crying wolf. And then all of a sudden, no, this is actually true, but you don't take it as seriously as maybe you should have.
And everyone has a platform now, a soapbox for at least their own bubble. Where, as we began to talk about this, remember, I said there was a time when if someone saw something on the news on television that irked them, the only person that heard about it was their poor spouse next to them on the couch, as they spit out their raspberries and elbowed them and said,
right.
That it got no further, and now everyone has this platform where at least they have 20 of their like-minded friends that they can spout off to. And so I describe it. I know you don't have one in front of you, but maybe, I don't know how long you guys have been doing. You guys go in the radio studios and do the shows once in a while too.
Yeah.
There used to be something on the board called a VU meter. Looked like a needle, went like this when you talked. I don't know if you remember those. Now they're all electronic. They're lights that go back and forth. But there used to be a needle like this, like across the screen like this.
Sure.
Okay. And as you talked, it modulated. Well, when I started out, again, I knew not everybody bats 1,000, but if you can visualize that VU meter, no matter what story I did, no matter how straight down the middle that I threw it, there were always just a few people way over here that said, oh, your story was biased. Maybe just 2% on this side. And of course, this is the days where, they used to call me and tell me this. And I'd say, how is it biased? And they'd say, well, you gave him 15 seconds of airtime. You gave her 12. Okay. Then there was always someone over here, a couple people over here that saw it entirely differently biased. How was it biased? Well, Dave, it's not what you said. It's the way you inflected your voice when you said that. Okay. But
then you realize you cannot win.
So with the 2% over here and the 2% over here, 96% of the people got it. That it was presented both sides of the story. It was done fairly. It was done accurately. I think what has happened over time is the middle is closed. So you're still throwing it down the middle, but there's less of the people that listen objectively and find it, to be accurate or whatever. We're so polarized. Those people that just were over here, all these people and these people. And that's something I've noticed over the years. And it's something kind of frustrating too.
Well, and Dave, we were joking before we got on today, but more on the national level, some of these larger media outlets, if you go to one site right now about the same story, you're going to get a completely different article than the other site about the same story. Like, it's not a different story.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It is.
It is amazing. I remember my son when he was getting, into his teenage years and becoming, developing the young person personality and starting to pay attention to things in the world. And when we were driving down the road, I've got that Sirius XM in the car, and it's got everything you could want for the now. Of course, I love that 70s music, and they're like, "Dad, please turn it off." But you've got
right.
And I keep telling them there was no good music made after the 70s, but
right.
So you've got all the news channels, and I think what you're talking about is you can listen to. Now I've never had cable television or satellite TV in my life, so a lot of people used to accuse me of listening to Fox News, and I'd had to tell them that I've never watched Fox News because I've never had cable. I have no idea what you're talking about. But but it's all on the radio. All those shows are on the radio. So we'd be driving someplace. I'd be with my son, and I would listen to the Fox News on the Sirius, the 114, right? And I'd listen to that until they went to break, and I listened to MSNBC, which is on channel 118, when the other guys were in commercial. And my son noticed that. He said, "Dad, it's like they told the same story, but it was totally different. They were talking about the same thing." I said, "Yeah, that's the way it goes." And he said, "But I noticed you listened to both." And I said, "Yeah, I think that's important. And I think it'll be important for you too. Listen to them both. And use your common sense. If you're asking me what consumers should do, consume the news, consume a variety of sources, and use your common sense."
Right.
I fear that, in the absence of that, with most of our population, it seems these days, the media giants seem to be stepping in and saying, whoa, we can't let that be heard. So I guess just to end our segment with you, the idea of freedom of the press, freedom of speech. I mean, a lot of people are starting to argue, and I think rightfully so, that, geez, it seems like some people can have really big, loud voices and never be pulled off of the various accounts like Twitter and Facebook and so forth. And then some would argue, boy, but if you say one thing on a certain topic with a certain energy, look out, because that big hook is coming to pull you right off stage, and you might not ever get back. So do you feel like that's something that will work itself out, or do you think that we're just now in this, like, again, polarized, as you said, a polarized, divided country, and that's going to just continue?
I'm not real optimistic on that, unfortunately, because I do see what you're talking about. And I think that it's become pretty clear that there are certain social media platforms that are going to censor certain voices, and they have done it. And I'm not taking a side here, but I think it's pretty plain as day, that there is something going on there. And before anyone says, First Amendment only applies to the government. Yeah, I get that too. But how many people depend on what they read on Facebook or Twitter? Twitter started out as a great thing it was the best source of getting news.
Sure.
In some ways it still is, if you can resist reading the comments,
Right.
But I mean, it's kind of, it's become kind of apparent too with some search engines. You put things in, what comes out. And I think it's and we become so dependent on this that, it does come down to the decisions of some folks as to what should be the news and not. It's always been that way, right? I mean, we always decided on TV which stories to cover and which ones don't. And the same thing on the radio and same thing in the newspaper. It's in that regard, it's no different. I think because, something like a Google search would encompass supposedly everything that's out there. And when you can only find a little bit of it, you do begin to wonder. And that's why I encourage people to try and consume different sources of information and use your common sense more than anything else. I don't know how many jury trials I've ever covered where the attorneys have told the jurors who have to make a big decision, right, use your common sense, weigh the evidence, because that's all you can consider, but you use your common sense. And I think that is, that's more important today than it ever has been.
And one last thing I'll say about social media, I think is a big problem, is it's truly made us so much lazier, right? You can just, go through your social media feed. You don't even have to read an article. You just read the headline like we said before. And that's where a lot of people are getting their facts and their information, by just reading headlines, which is a little bit concerning at the end of the day.
Well, it's also, a lot of things are said on social media that are kind of misinterpreted. Well, first of all, there's a lot of things said that people wouldn't say to each other's faces, right? I mean, we just wouldn't do that. So it's this keyboard courage, and it's real easy to do that. But then it is. It's easy for any of us. It's like, if you and I were standing in line at the bank and the teller said next, and it was my turn, I don't care, Mike, if you're in a hurry, you wouldn't cut me off. You just wouldn't, because I'm standing there. But, you might say something to me on social because I'm not. And the other thing is, then you could be, you could make a remark or something and then it's taken out of context. And this happens not just on social media. Texting is a good way to communicate, but is it a real good way to express your feelings? A text? How many of us have sent a text to somebody, maybe somebody close to us, and they say, "I thought you were mad at me." Mm-hmm. Why? Oh, yeah. Because of the tone of your text. Tone of my text. It says, "We're out of milk again. Damn it." Well, yeah,
I really wanted cereal.
You're mad. No, I'm not mad. I'm just saying, damn it, we're out of milk.
Didn't blame you.
If I said that across the breakfast table,
right,
with my coffee, and went to put damn, we're out of milk. You just say, oh, we don't have any milk. Well, it's too bad he misses it in his coffee, but he's not mad. Do you see what I'm saying? There's so much
absolutely.
of that, and then people, there's a segment of the population that gets offended and seems to take offense at just about everything and wants, I don't know if there's people that go around life looking to be offended all the time. They seem.
I think there are some.
They seem angry.
They do exactly.
And they're just looking for whatever they can be angry about next. And I just wonder, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. I guess at the end of the day, what I think, but I do wonder that sometimes if there's
absolutely
certain people that just look around for reasons to be upset about something.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect, though. Everyone just needs to have common sense, and that will probably fix a lot of problems if people just use common sense with anything in life, whether it be Twitter, whether it be news, whether it be sports, whatever it is. And I feel like common sense will prevail.
Yeah, and that's obviously one of the mantra of our podcast, espousing common sense.
I started noticing the first time the big change in the 2012 presidential election, where it was the first one where we had Facebook and people were putting their opinions out there. And I started thinking and wondering quietly, wow, how many friends did you lose last night? Because you said you supported either Mitt Romney or Barack Obama. And I started thinking about how I never became friends with these folks because of their politics. That's not why we were friends. And I never knew them, quite frankly. Yeah. And then I started thinking about what the old folks used to say, which was, never discuss politics or religion at the dinner table or in mixed company. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of things. First of all, old folks don't grow to be old by being stupid. Mm-hmm. They don't get there if they're stupid. The second thing is, so we always had this thing, and we used to not discuss politics or religion at the dinner table or in mixed company. And then around 2008 or 9, welcome to Facebook.
And so it began.
Here's the dinner table. Have at it. And we kind of forgot that. This became the table. And we forgot the rules, and it's again, we're getting back to the old, keyboard courage thing, where, you and I were, three of us were out here having coffee someplace instead of doing this on the computers. We might be sitting down at a sidewalk cafe and I say something stupid and offensive or whatever. And then I get up. It's nice to see you guys again. I get up and leave, and you two turn at each other and go, what is wrong with him? Right? You wouldn't say it to me.
Right.
But you would say, what is wrong with him? On the computer, you'd say it to me. Because you don't have that human interaction. And I think that, we're missing that a lot. And I think that's leading to, a lot of the consternation that's out there.
No doubt. We're going to have to leave it there, Dave. Let's do that sidewalk cafe thing someday with the three of us. We are in the same city, same town. So we really do appreciate, you go far beyond keyboard courage. You have, true courage to face the topics that you do, approach the people that you do, try to get actually like the facts as you do. Your competence. If anyone was to listen to your stories, read your stories, there's no doubt they're going to see immediately a commitment to, I just would say, like professional excellence. And over the years, you've certainly shown that, and hopefully you continue to do what you do for a long time. WGRZ investigative reporter Dave McKinley, thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me and thinking of me, and I wish you well with the show.
It's our pleasure. Hopefully it's not the last time. All right. Folks, we appreciate you tuning in to TFG Truth. Keep up the good fight, as Dave McKinley is, as I am, as my partner Mike Speraza is. We'll be back next week.